Welcome back, beautiful souls, to another episode of Shine In and Out, the podcast where science meets soul. I'm your host, Sammy Stoltz, and today we're diving deep into what really happens inside of our minds and our bodies when we step into our true nature, overcome burnout, and live authentically. I'm thrilled to have Lauren Wyckoff with us. Lauren has guided countless people in the wellness space for over a decade, helping them to reconnect with their bodies, spirits, values, and gifts. Lauren, thank you for shining your light here today. All right, Lauren. So I'd just love to hear a little bit about your story, what's led you to where you are today doing what you do.
Absolutely. And thank you for having me.
Of course.
So, my story kind of developed even as a young child, I would see things. I had a much more naturally sensitive nervous system,
Mm,
and I knew that I was kind of always feeling things and sensing things that even I knew other people weren't picking up on. And
totally.
so once I was in my early 20s, I started diving into the healing arts, which kind of really expanded my own spiritual gifts.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then from there, I started getting like kind of the vision for my life when I was in my about 27 years old when I was in acupuncture school, and my body really started to
Ah,
heal
that's
and
wonderful.
open up, and then I started having visions for what I was here to do, and uh, the the light really started sparking within me, and I only knew that that was my path,
Yeah.
and I trusted spirit, but I didn't have any of the hows, right? The very um, grounded and practical things to support me in these
Mhm.
ideas and visions and, for lack of better terms, downloads that I was receiving.
Yeah.
And so I went on after getting my master's in Oriental medicine, I kind of went on a little bit of a messy path in pursuit of connecting with these sparks and this light that was, it felt like trying to communicate to me, and it felt like just this path of remembering. And then I just kind of started to gain my ground and learn the very real and practical things that we can use to really hone in our zone of genius and really bring structure to our purpose here on the planet. So, yeah.
I I absolutely love that. I very much agree that a lot of these things are just things that we have to remember, that we have the natural inclinations. It's just kind of covered up by all of society and a lifetime of being taught differently, right? So it's so beautiful that you took the time and spent the energy to dive deeper into yourself and to find those naturally heightened skills. I personally was a very sensitive child myself, very sensitive, I guess, still, but I was always afraid of those things. Was there ever a point that you were intimidated and wanted to shy away from those messages, or were you always just comfortable and open to it?
Great question. I definitely, there were times where it's like you want to contract back, right? And
Hmm.
what I've come to learn is that we really do have everything within us, right?
Yes.
And so I started really using those emotions. Like, for example, I think that confidence comes from practicing and developing the skill set of courage over and over. Like,
Totally.
cour- courage is an emotional skill set. And so we get to use our emotions and then navigate our emotions. So,
Totally. It took me quite a while to realize that the growth was in the discomfort and that the discomfort was actually a gift. And ever since then, I've just been pushing myself into it and I've never regretted it. So that's beautiful that you just naturally went that way and you're probably much more in tune because of it. So what made you choose Oriental medicine?
Well, I had already gotten my massage therapy license, skincare license, colon hydrotherapy, and was a Reiki master. And
Mm.
I thought I was done with school,
Wow. Yeah.
and I started to work on clients and everything like that. And then for me, when something comes into my field, my energy field, and it's just a knowing. I can't explain it. It's
Yeah.
like when you know. And so it came into my field that I was supposed to go back to school. And I just had to lean into that. And I said, okay, what would I go back to school for? What are my conditions? And I had never had acupuncture before.
Hmm.
I simply, I was living in Florida at the time, and I simply looked at a map and said, that's where I'm supposed to go, and just trusted it and moved there.
Wow. That
Yeah.
is so cool. Wow.
Yeah.
Very, very powerful, that trust, building that trust. I
Yeah.
I hope that you can impart on us, especially those of us who aren't used to even hearing those messages, let alone trusting them and having that faith. What do you recommend to get started? Is it just over time you build that muscle?
I will keep saying this over and over. Listen to your body. We really the brain is smart, but the body is wise. And it is here to really serve us and help us. And so our body will know if it's a yes or no, and will give us our nudges. So I would say to really start tapping into and trusting that is really starting with trusting your body, and that will connect you to your mind and spirit.
I mean, when I was younger, what I would do to make decisions instead of like getting all up in the logical mix of things, which would never end, I would say to my mom, just pick one. And then if my if I felt that feeling in my chest that was like disappointment or a no, then I knew I had to choose the other one. Or if I was
Yeah.
happy she chose that one, it was just an arbitrary for her to select, but it made a difference for me in making those decisions. And it's all about, of course, doing so in a self-sufficient manner, which I have gotten a lot better at. And just really, I do feel it in my body. And I'm sure a lot of people aren't tuned into, sometimes I'll even be in the middle of a store and I'll feel super sad. And I'm like, why am I so sad right now? And then I'll tune into the music and it's like a really melancholic song. And I'm like, oh, okay. But if I didn't take the moment to recognize that I was sad, recognize that there was sad music playing and that it wasn't like exactly my sadness, it was just an emotion evoked from the music. It's, I mean, I think a lot of people are blind to that stuff. Do you see a lot of that in
Mhm.
your work?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, so much of our energy has been moved upwards, but we are electromagnetic beings, which means there has to be that grounding element for the
Mm,
energy to be processed, right? And
totally.
so just by taking that time to breathe or go outside and everything like that, it allows us to speed up our processing,
Hmm.
our emotional processing system. And so yes, I do see that quite a bit, and really just encourage people to go outside. It can cleanse you, reset
Definitely.
you in ways that you can't quantify, right? Um, and just breathe again, right? And disconnect from the phone and connect with each other as well. So yeah.
Yes, the phone, it's a constant distraction. how are you able to listen to your emotions when you're always doing something else, right? I
Yeah.
always find nature is just perfect for doing that. Do you do a specific, like, grounding practice, like take your shoes off and stand in the grass or anything like that, or you don't even need to do that?
Um, so a really cool story of about connection and grounding to the earth is I walk my dog every single day. I did this for a little over a year. And I would usually just do it in the morning. And then one evening, he got to be spoiled and go for an extra walk, extra long walk, excuse me. And I, again, had my shoes off and it was grounding. And it just came into my field to thank the earth for protecting me and my dog. Right? I don't know where that intelligence or it came in from, but I did it. And 30 seconds later, my dog was attacked by another dog. And yes, and it was a giant dog, and the sounds that were coming, I thought that the other dog had for sure my dog was dead. Like, there's no way, right? And when I finally got the large dog off, and there was not a scratch, a puncture hole, like, my dog was, like, n absolutely nothing wrong with him. And but I had that connection, that information come in from the earth to thank the earth for protecting me and my dog 30 seconds before that. So, it's
Wow.
like, you how
Oh,
how do
thank
you
goodness. I
explain those
cannot
things?
imagine being in that scenario and just trying to figure out how to save your little dog. Like, that's so scary. I'm so glad that you were protected, and that is a very powerful story. I'm sure you'll never forget that whole period. Wow.
Right, and
So
so when you
yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so even when you really, kind of take that example in that demonstration, if you will, of the connection and even protection, uh, something as simple as that, that the same thing is true when it's coming from the mind as well, not just from the ground, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Where
Eh,
those sparks come in to do something, to say something to someone, to go somewhere. Um, just those intuitive sparks that come in can be
I
just as
like that term.
powerful.
Yeah, that term sparks. I often get those, and when I was younger, I was very much like, think before I speak, and would miss a lot of opportunities that came from those sparks. And now I just out with it. If my brain tells me to compliment somebody, I just throw it at them. I'm like, you know what? I'm only responsible for what I say, not their interpretation of it. So I'm just gonna give this gift, and hopefully it's received well. So, yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. Those sparks, I like that. And you
Yes.
talk about being authentically yourself and how much of a difference that makes. What do you see when your clients aren't being authentic to themselves, and how does that shift as you guide them toward that authenticity?
Absolutely. Great question. I would say it just delays time. That's the thing. It can delay blessings, both in giving and receiving.
Totally.
Um, and again, from that, like, it's that quality of life that people have. And is when you are being true to yourself, like, you see the world differently. You really do. And like, life looks brighter. Life looks brighter and life feels brighter when you are authentic to who you are, and things just naturally unfold for you. that cannot always be explained because
Yeah,
I really see it as like, okay, yes, we are having this human experience and other people can't find you. Like a lot of times we make it so much about ourselves without understanding that also like our brothers and sisters need us as well. It can be as simple as giving somebody a compliment at the grocery store, but when we're really in our authenticity, our brothers and sisters and the people that we're meant to connect with, they can recognize us. They're like, "Oh, I've been looking for you. Oh my gosh, it's so great to see you again." Right? So,
totally.
it's
Totally. There are just those people that you connect with so easily, and there's that level of understanding that surpasses all belief. And it's honestly one of the most beautiful, uplifting things that I could experience in a day. So you're absolutely right. And if we don't listen to those sparks, we have the potential to miss those connections. And like you said with the authenticity, there's science now to back how much it changes our brains and bodies. You have your brain areas for self-reflection light up and your stress responses quiet down. You have cortisol dropping, your heart rate smooths down, your sleep quality improves, and all of those feel-good chemicals like dopamine for motivation, to keep going, keep being authentic, your serotonin, lifted mood, like you said, you see the world brighter, and oxytocin to connect with those people and to really feel that bond. That's what's released with a mother and her new child is oxytocin. So it's a really beautiful, like you said, brothers and sisters. So, and when you are real, something that I absolutely love is there are things called mirror neurons, which is
Mhm.
exactly what it sounds like. What you see, you recreate in yourself without even recognizing it. Like when you yawn, I would yawn, for instance. So when people see you and experience you as being authentic, they feel like they too can be authentic. And so if you're not even ready to be authentic for yourself, maybe be authentic for the people you love because you want them to be able to be themselves, right?
Yes, absolutely. And I love how spirituality and science are now speaking the same
I
language.
know.
It's like, oh my gosh, thank you. The things that we know inside of us that now it's like, yeah, well, this is actually, yeah, by being exactly who you were created to be, right? Here's actually what's happening in your biology. Here's what's happening in at a hormone level and in your brain. And so it's just like I think it's also the very humanness in us. We like reassurance,
Absolutely. I think it
right?
makes it a
It's
lot easier to adopt the practices too if you know they're going to work, right?
yes, absolutely.
So, for anybody that is feeling stuck in their life, they maybe don't know their purpose, or first I'll ask you what you think about purpose, because I'm starting to realize that because everybody has a different collection of experiences and different skills and thought patterns and everything, that we all invariably do have a singular purpose that only we can fulfill, right?
Mhm.
So the spiritual version of that, how do you approach that when somebody just comes to you and they don't have any inkling of what their purpose could be? How do you help them dig deep for that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do it in very practical ways where they're able to allow their brain because a lot of times it's the brain that can get in the way, right? And so if you give people really practical ways to connect with that and teach them in a sense where they become their own hero, where it's literally just you're giving them the seeds and they're invoking it within themselves. And so I use very practical things like human design, astrology, and really figuring out what people's authentic values are. Dr. John Demartini, if you're not familiar with him, he is brilliant, absolutely brilliant with values, and it's all about the
Ah,
subconscious mind. And your subconscious mind will reflect what your authentic values are.
hmm.
Yes, yeah, his work's great. And so,
Oh, I
at a
have to look into it.
yeah, at a very practical way, that's kind of my starting point is I'll start people with the human design, astrology, and their values. But I think it's taking time to listen to people as well, because a lot of times their purpose, their experiences, their skill sets, their 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 journey, uh, it's been communicating. It's around their field. It's already there. It's just a matter of uh, listening to what's been trying to connect with you. So it's very practical things that gets them to say, "Oh, okay, yeah, that is me. Oh my gosh, that is me. Yes." And then the spiritual ways of having conversations with people and really connecting them back to what's been trying to communicate with them.
I
So
love that.
I would define success in general is and purpose is that it is being your authentic self that is to service to other people, both to service to
Absolutely.
other that it's a contribution of some kind that is empowering for you. That's
Totally.
be, be authentic, that is empowering and a contribution to each other.
You're right.
That's
That's how you know.
that's what
That's
I
how you
think
know it's a
purpose is.
purpose instead of anything separate from that because you love it, but it's also for the benefit of other people more so than yourself.
Yeah.
It is a beautiful feeling knowing that you're helping people doing what you love. And so
Mhm.
that's I think you even discussed the like zone of genius a lot, right? And I'm gonna have to read that book because I just had a guest talk about that extensively. Um, so for listeners that are feeling stuck right now, what would you say journal prompt or something that they can quickly do to get started that cross that threshold of entry so it's not so intimidating, just get a feel for themselves and where they're headed. What would you suggest?
I would suggest, honestly, go outside, be in nature, get a pen and paper, and
Yes,
just start the thoughts that come to you when you are sitting by a tree, that they're so different than when you're inside. And I would say go outside, whatever nature experience escape that you like best, and just get like nobody else is going to see this piece of paper. Just get it out. It's with purpose, it's with passion, but it's also a lot of times for the poisons that we can carry within ourself as well. It's like sometimes it's like just get it out. Whatever it is,
totally.
nobody else has to see it. This can
You
be
can
your
burn it.
own. You could do whatever. It's like just be real with yourself, like, "This is what I want." Like, if this is what I wanna accomplish, I'm really frustrated with this, and just get it out and not judge it because it's who you are, right? And then you can kind of, that's gonna start creating momentum and start, moving energy for you.
Yeah, I mean, it feels good. It's undeniable that it's something you'd want to continue to pursue after you do it just that one time. I I love that because it actually what I do, I will write a lot of the time, but sometimes when I just wanna get moving and I'm walking, I'll just pop headphones in and I'll turn on the voice memos on my phone, and I will just start talking. I will say like, "Oh, I'm embarking on this walk, trying to get a little closer to myself. I feel like I've gotten a little distant from my intuition and I need to come back." So Absolutely. I think that's probably one of the most powerful things someone can do because, like you say, it's everything we need is within us.
And
So when it comes
absolutely.
to
And I'll
that,
also
yeah,
add, I will also
please no, go
add
ahead.
again, movement, right? Even it's like just move. If you're stuck at all, just move your body. Whatever. If you just go for a walk, a 1 mile walk every single day, I promise you that will change your life. If you just start moving your body. For me, even when I don't feel like it, I will go to the gym. You always, always, always feel better after you move your body.
I completely resonate with that. I I call it the morning mile. So I always start my day with a mile and it just sets you off on the right foot. It's your time to think. It's your time, maybe you listen to some affirmations or something like that. And like you said, I often get that like antsy feeling where if I haven't moved enough in a day, I just feel pent up and I know I won't sleep well and I just feel anxious. And without fail, as long as I push myself to go to the gym, take a walk, do some form of exercise, it releases and I am far more calm than I could be without it. So even like at the end of a yoga class, that's the time when I can just lay there on the mat
Mhm.
and actually have a blank mind. It's amazing.
Yep.
So in your meditation practice, I know you were talking about gratitude meditation specifically, but a lot of people see meditation the wrong way, where it's pressure because you have to remove the thoughts from your mind, and then they
Mhm.
beat themselves up, and then it defeats the purpose of coming into yourself gently. So, as someone who meditates, what do you do, and what do you recommend that people do instead of maybe what's the mainstream wrong idea?
Absolutely. I really appreciate Dr. Joe Dispenza's take on meditation.
Love him.
For the longest time, it was like I have finding that complete zeroness, complete stillness. I was like, I actually don't want to meditate. And so
Yeah.
I began using meditation with Dr. Joe's work where it's like you're actually becoming familiar with. That's that's what it is. And so I started looking at meditation as a way to connect with my goals and my vision.
Hmm,
So instead
I love
of
that.
let let me get as still and calm and as possible, right? I was like, ooh, actually, let me slow down and get familiar with. And for me, that allowed me to want to meditate, if that makes sense. And so I just
Absolutely.
began getting really familiar with the version of myself I wanted to become and the things that I wanted to create. So that's that would
So
be
what does that
my
look like? Are you having
advice
an
for
inner
you.
dialogue, asking yourself questions? What exactly are you doing when you're trying to listen?
I am trying to connect with visuals in my head.
Hmm.
So I'm trying to
Like his
actually
mind
see
movies.
visuals. Yes, mind movies, as well as when I see that, then I'll allow my body to feel the sensations of it. So I see
Yes.
that and then I'll feel the sensation. I'm like, oh, yes, okay. And so it's becoming familiar with what I'm seeing and allowing my body to be familiar with what I'm seeing.
Yes, that makes total sense. It's the clear intention, elevated emotion, as he calls it. When you pair those two together, that's the manifesting power. You can't just visualize and you can't just feel. You have to do it together, and it really does seem inevitable after that point. I kind of have realized that the only way you can't be successful is if you stop trying.
Yeah.
So, inevitably, if you're revamping your mind with these images and your body's already feeling that gratitude and ready to accept that into your life because it thinks it's already happened, it's unequivocal. It's all downhill from there. I love that. And
Yeah.
it's a lot less intimidating, I think, because there's no wrong way to do it. And it's very specific to you. And it allows you to get in tune with what you really want, which a lot of people don't know.
And I always say, if you don't know what you want, start with what you know you don't like or what you know you don't want. And that will kind of help move that needle.
Yeah.
And also, with human design, it's really great because you can see it's a wonderful system that will show you if you are a more specific or a non-specific manifester. So, for example, some
Oh.
people they are meant to have this date, this color car, this et cetera, at this dealership, etc. But not everyone is designed like that. And so some
Hmm.
people are meant to do it more so on the feeling and the emotion and keep tuning in there and then allow the universe to show them something better than what they could imagine. And so it's kind of being able to do that to help people create their reality by being who they authentically are.
I'm gonna have to look more into human design. I have a feeling that I'm the less specific one because whenever I do visualizations, it's just like glimpses of me and people smiling or the feeling of that I've really been able to make a difference, stuff like that. I've never been very specific about it. So now I have to go look and see if either I'm doing it wrong or I was in tune with myself and doing it properly. I don't know much about human design. Do you have like a little synopsis of how it all works? Is it based on birth date and stuff like that or
Yep. So similar to how you would pull up your natal astrology chart, so your time of birth, date of birth, location of birth, and it like I refer to it as your human software, right? Like how were you specifically designed? And let's start moving in that direction. So there's something also, they call it your like where your intuition is, how you're designed to make decisions, right? So that would be very helpful. That is very helpful to know where intuition actually lives within you, right? For
yeah.
some people, for about 50% of the population, their intuition is in their emotions. And so you make decisions based on that. Some people, it is sacral. So it's a very fast yes or no,
Mm.
you know? And so you get to really work with how people are designed. And so it blends um, many different things like the I Ching, astrology, the chakra system, a bunch of different things into this perfectly designed system. And it's like, here you go on like
How
on a
nice.
silver platter. This is
Yeah.
how you get to are designed to share your brilliance. So it's like just follow these little directions here and you'll be in much more alignment with your natural state.
That's really helpful to have a guide. I think so many people feel lost and overwhelmed at the thought of trying to pick it all apart and put it back together. So having that tool, even just as a jumping point, is brilliant. And I'm going to, after this, probably go dive fairly deep into it. Um, and as far as the chakras go, I don't know if you know about Dr. Joe Dispenza's chakra meditation. I was doing that one for a while. He has you focus on the centers and then the space around the centers and kind of like release what's keeping you pent up there. It's
Yeah.
pretty profound. And then the vagal breathing, it's like to get your I'm not even gonna try. It's like a melatonin response where you're like breathing up your spine like a straw
Mm,
and it crystallizes in your I don't know why it's slipping my mind the part of the brain. Neuroscience, am I right? Pineal gland. Yes, thank
yes.
you. Thank you. I was dissecting brains all day. I should know that. um, yeah, it's so interesting and I find myself as a scientist and a spiritual person trying to put them together. And especially in the form of intuition, we know about the mind gut axis. We know about the connection of everything. We know that it's communicating with us, that it's releasing hormones and emotions, and even our bacteria has some influence on how we're perceiving things. And that some of intuition is really amazing pattern recognition. But I have to believe that there's something more than just those biological things, at least the ones that we've found thus far,
Hmm.
because even if it is pattern recognition, if you've never been in that situation before with, say, a person with nefarious purposes in your midst, if you've never had that experience before, how could you be recognizing a pattern? It is something soulful, right? What would you say about that?
Yeah, I would agree. Right. And, one of my best friends, she's actually working on her doctorate right now. She's an acupuncturist as well. And she's working on her doctorate all about the brain. And it's like, who is, and so we get to have many fun conversations. And it's like, yeah, who also is the observer, right? Who
Yes.
when you even get to those places and it's like we're able to recognize having the recognizing patterns and sequences and everything like that. um, who's observing all of this?
It's
It-
I mean, we could go on, because then there's the epigenetics, and that's your ancestors and the past life regression stuff. Like, it's all kind of rolling out as proven. Like you said, it's
yeah,
nice to have that extra proof that there's something to all of this. And when you said who's observing,
yeah.
I don't know if you've read anything by Michael Singer.
No.
He is one of my favorite spiritual teachers,
Okay.
and his whole journey started when he realized that he wasn't the thoughts, he was the soul observing the thoughts.
Yep.
And that allows you to step back, and your thoughts are predominantly programmed from the people you've been surrounded by and raised by and society. It's not your fault that you might have a judgmental thought, but the person observing the thought realizes that
Hmm.
that's not something that they want to be natural to them, and they can change the second thought, right? It's it's so
Yep.
powerful and so simple, and people can go their whole lives thinking that they are simply the collection of thoughts.
Mhm.
Did you have a moment where that realization clicked for you? Or was it always just a, yeah.
Yeah, I think when I was in acupuncture school, there was the doctor and really master that I was fortunate to train under. His name is Dr. Wong. He's in Miami, Florida. And he taught me about the lotus. And that completely shifted how I viewed everything and consciousness. So, what's very interesting about the lotus is when you look at the Buddha and masters on the lotus, they're sitting on top of the lotus. So, the whole thing with the lotus and practicing all of that and raising your consciousness is that you do become the observer on top of everything. It's like
Hmm.
becoming that seat in the soul, right? You get to be sitting in the soul. And so I think for me, that was when he really taught me things about the lotus, and the was in Tibet with the monks and meditated with the monks for many years. Yeah, and so being able to receive and kind of have some of that wisdom passed down absolutely changed so much of how I looked at consciousness. Yeah,
That's so awesome. I
yeah.
love that. I'm sure there are many other lessons from the lotus. In addition to that, was there anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, actually. So to kind of tie everything back, I even when I moved to Arizona, I named my my healing arts company my Lotus Connection. And so when I and Dr. Wong would always tell me, keep watering the root, keep watering the root, keep watering the root, and that is the path to raising consciousness and to raise your frequency. And so when I first moved to Arizona, any and everything went wrong. Like, I mean,
Oh,
it was like the muckiest of muck, like of everything, right? No money, sleeping on a couch. My car got repoed. I had no clients. Like, it was just like, what is happening? And so, really leaning into that wisdom and guidance from him. And it was like, keep watering the root, keep watering the root. And that's exactly what I did. And so I would go home back to Washington State and just keep putting love there, right? And allowing like at my own roots, but then who I was at my core. And I just kept connecting to my own core, keep watering that root. And then so from there I've just been able to continuously get in this place of like shining, like a very real, no, like this has been like a very real path, a very authentic path to from the root all the way up to be able to like authentically glow from the inside out.
so
Yeah.
the root you would describe as your soul self, like who you really are without
Yeah.
outside influence.
Yep.
I love
That
that.
that
And
core.
when you said it was muddy when you got there, it made me think of No Mud, No Lotus by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't know if you've read that one.
Yep.
He's got a bunch, and they're so easy to just digest. That was a beautiful use of that metaphor then.
Yes, I can honestly say I have lived that expression. I have lived that. Yeah.
That's amazing. In fact, the mud gave you a chance to reveal and embody the roots.
Yeah. And the mud shows you who you really are. Like that's the amazing thing is like and you that's where it's like you keep working with the mud to remember your light.
Totally.
Yes.
It also goes with the metaphor that I always, like you said, and like we've talked about, your soul self already knows everything you need to know. And you're just
Mhm.
coming back to that soul self. And
Yep.
and so I describe it as a heart of gold, but there's layers of mud caked on it throughout your life, your traumas, your experiences, all the negative stuff. Um, and you just have to peel it back layer by layer, pressure wash it, and then you're back to that heart of gold. So I truly believe that everybody has a heart of gold, and it allows me to have so much more compassion because they might have more layers of mud than I do or that I'm used to seeing in people, but as long as I know that it's under there, I can have that compassion because I just know everybody ever just wants to be happy and feel loved.
Yeah.
And when we
And
share that with our brothers and sisters,
yeah, absolutely. And I think that what I've come to realize, and again, it's the simple things, right? When I'm at the gym and I just smile at somebody, like human beings, like we're so receptive to each other, and we're so interconnected that when you just smile to a stranger or to whoever, it's like they cannot help again with that the
yeah,
mirror neurons. It's like they can't help
yeah.
but be like, "Oh, hi." Like there's just that they're going to give it back, right? Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
My brother, he was walking behind me one time and he was like, everybody smiles at you. Like, nobody smiles at me like that. And I was like, oh, I was probably smiling. Like, it's just natural for me. It's like, oh, another human, like, hi.
Yep.
But you're right, it makes such a difference that I've met people and gotten to know them, and they go back to that first moment when I smiled at them, and that was the moment they remembered about me. Or even just the small acts, those little sparks. I was moving into my dorm in like freshman year of college, and I was in the elevator with this girl, and I just struck up a conversation. Like, I know everybody here is a freshman, new, scared, doesn't necessarily have friends yet. And before she got out of the elevator, she looked back and said, "Thank you for talking to me." And I was like, I melted. I was like, of course. And it made me realize the little things, how beautiful they can be for somebody. And I'll never miss a chance to provide that feeling now that I know how powerful it can be.
Absolutely. And then it's like using, speaking of, manifesting, is we get to use our voice to like literally speak to that heart of gold, right? Within people, like that's who you're speaking to. You're not speaking to the layers of the mud or around
Yeah.
that the heart of gold, where it's like you use your voice to the vibrations in your voice to speak to that part of the people,
Hmm.
right? And it just
Interesting.
like when you do that, it's like just by having that conversation or by noticing something about people and sharing that, right? It's like that vibration goes out and then they're going to be vibrating in a much more radiant way as well. So
Exactly. And all the
yeah,
people they touch in that
yeah,
day with that higher energy too. And it's so amazing to me. You and I, first time meeting, very different paths thus far, but we have the same understanding of all of these things. And I think even without the science that says we have enough evidence that this is universal, and it's just so beautiful to me to be able to connect like this. So thank you so much for being here, and I'm sure a lot of my listeners will want to connect with you. So what is the best way to do that?
absolutely. And thank you so much for having me. So I would say on Instagram, Lauren underscore Wyckoff underscore. And you can also visit my website, www.lauren-wyckoff.com.
Just writing it down so I don't forget to put it in the notes. Awesome. Okay. Well, thank you so so much. You
Thank
finished
you.
your master's, right?
Yes.
Congrats. Now you're on to just making that difference. I love that.
Yes.
Best of
And
luck with everything.
yes, you as well with finishing yours. I'm so
Thank you.
excited for you. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, I hope to keep in touch. Have a great rest of your night.
Thank you. You too.
Bye. Lauren, thank you so much for sharing such soulful and science backed wisdom. And to everyone listening, remember your authenticity isn't just a feeling, it's a whole body reset. Every little step toward your true self is healing and energizing you from the inside out. This is Shining It Out, where science meets soul. If this episode lit you up, please share, tag us, review, and keep tuning in for more stories, insights, and tools to help you live and shine authentically inside and out. Stay curious, stay true, stay you.